Happy Democracy Day to all Nigerians, and thank you for joining the Democracy Day special of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. June 12 is a unique day for Nigeria, not just because it represents a collective struggle for democracy. It also offers us opportunity to assess where we came from, where we are, and where we are heading in a march to greatness as a country. Hence, today's episode of Journalist Hangout is dedicated to commemorating Democracy Day in Nigeria to demonstrate our resolve for growth of democratic governance. So we welcome you as we discuss the project Nigeria with you. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Asuko James. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. The global coronavirus pandemic is adding another edge to our challenges as a country, but we cannot lose focus on our goal of enduring democracy and good governance, which is the story of June 12. President Muhammadu Buhari, in his nationwide broadcasts, encouraged Nigerians to join hands and build the country.
This day provides us an opportunity to reflect on our journey as a nation, our achievements and struggles. It is a day to honor our founding fathers who toiled to establish our republic and every Nigerian who has worked tirelessly to sustain it. We are celebrating this year's Democracy Day despite the COVID-19 pandemic, which afflicts our nation and the whole world. Sustaining our democracy thus far has been a collective struggle, and I congratulate all Nigerians, and particularly leaders of our democratic institutions, for their resilience and determination to ensure that Nigeria remains a shining example of democracy. In my 2019 Democracy Day address, I promised to frontally address the nation's daunting challenges, especially insecurity, economy, and corruption.
Babajide, you saw the president's speech this morning, and a lot of Nigerians were saying that, look, it was like a campaign speech. It was like reeling out his achievement and everything, that Mr. President did not actually address what is wrong in Nigeria, with Nigeria.
Yes, he wanted to show clearly that his government had done so well within the period. It's left for Nigerians to judge him. The president is not the best judge of himself. Nigerians are the best judge. Where the president said, for example, that people displaced by Boko Haram had been resettled in their homes, I wonder who must have told the president that is the situation. Who gave him that kind of information? Yes, because the IDPs are everywhere. The bulk of Borno North, for example, people are not living in their homes. I keep giving the example of the governor of Borno State. His hometown, Zulum, is in the Monguno local government area. He has not been home for more than 4 years.
That's the governor.
Yes,
not to
I'm saying that publicly. And Guzamala local government is the local government of the Speaker of the Borno State House of Assembly. And I'm telling you that he has not been home for years. He dares not go home. This is the truth. Senator Kyari confessed to me that he has not been home since 2014 because it's not safe.
6 years ago.
The former governor of Borno State went to Chad. There was a conference that he attended in Chad, Senator Shetima, and he confessed that, look, the local government headquarters, we control the local government headquarters, but the boys rule the hinterland. And that is what is happening, especially in Borno North. Once you step out of the local government headquarters, you are not safe. There is even no military presence in most of those places. So how do you go to those places without risking being kidnapped and then slaughtered. So this is the reality. And I've had the monarch of the El Kanemi himself, the traditional ruler of Maiduguri, said that to the president in his palace, that we cannot move more than 10 kilometers out of our yes, out of our town. If you move now, you leave Maiduguri, for example, you are going towards Bama. As you approach Konduga, it's not safe. We can even see people, you see latest reports showing that they are even moving as close as Mona Garage. These are communities close to the Borno state capital, attacking troop formations in those areas, attacking people in Jere local government. Jere local government itself, the bulk of it is actually Maiduguri township. So if Boko Haram can go to the headquarters of Jere local government, which is Hadamari, you can see that this, in terms of security, there is a lot more for our president to do. And I expect him to know it. There's a lot more. A lot more. I'm saying this because I fear God. No matter my failings, I still fear God. Because no man can attain perfection while in the body. I recognize that I'm not perfect, but I still fear God. There's a lot more for the president to do in the area of security. And I want him to know that. I love him. That is why I will speak the truth to him. Many of the people who lie to the president, they don't love him. They hate him.
Asuko, I saw those the achievements. Anytime Mr. President is really out his achievements and everything, I look at them and I don't know. It has not trickled down. Yes, they are there, but I've not said how this achievement has affected Ayodele Ozubaku. I look at it, or a common man on the streets. It's difficult for me.
Yeah, exactly. It will be very difficult because, as people will always say, that it's years of neglect, And now that the president had the opportunity, because this is his 5th year, at least we are supposed to have started seeing signs of what he's doing and what at least he wants to do. People will always talk about the railway. And thank God the president actually reeled out a lot of things that he's doing. The railway, the roads, and the trader money and the market money, which so many people doubt, as well as the home school feeding program that is not everywhere in the country. So it depends on how the president will have to marshal his point, especially in terms of achievement. Because his achievement, if you look at all the achievement that he has said or that he has reeled out, not everybody will say that the president has done well. But in terms of who have benefited from this, the president will have to start listing them down or listing them out now and tell us, okay, in terms of feeding or homeschool feeding program, he said 9.9, and that was what we heard some years back, from 2 years back, 9.9 children. By now, 9.9 should have increased to almost 11 to 15 to 20 million, So, and if you are talking about roads, by now we should be hearing that, okay, we have completed this number of roads because of this, that, and not that we are still saying 5%, 20%, 90%, and things like that. If we want achievement, if we want to receive or begin to feel achievement of anybody, we need to start seeing it and feeling it. It is the problem we had in the previous administration was that they were doing those things, the same thing that they were doing, but people were not feeling. They were not feeling it. So we need to, the president and his advisors must sit down and see how they can make those achievements that the president is reeling out so that people will begin to feel the president. If it is road, I should be able to drive to my village without a pothole, without hitting any pothole. If it is railway, I should be able to say I'm going to Lagos and I'm going to Calabar. Nothing will stop me, If it is food, or I need to start a business, I shouldn't be having issues, the bottlenecks that people are always experiencing. If it is the simplest thing, which people are always been begging for the past 20 years or so, electricity.
Okay.
People have been talking about electricity, but the president is now saying that in the next couple of 2 years or so, we'll be having 11,000 megawatts. We just hear these figures, but people need to feel the impact of Mr. President.
Okay, Babajide, let's go back to June 12 now. Let's talk about our June 12 stories. Now, where were you in June 12, 1993?
I was in Kano. I was Kano correspondent of the news magazine, and I covered the election. I moved around the state capital. I also traveled on election day to Tofa. You know, I wanted to see what happened in the hometown of the candidate of the NRC. So I was living in the same area with the presidential candidate of the NRC. So more or less like a neighbor, not too close, but not more than 500 meters to my house. So I was able to cover the election. I saw how Abiola defeated him, and I thought that was significant.
In Kano?
Yes. Abiola defeated him in his Gandu Albasa quarters. That's what we call this area. That's where I was defeated by Abiola. Abiola's support was widespread. We had the people that mattered at that time on his side. Abubakar Arimi was cruise control of Kano politics at that time, and he had Abubakar Arimi on his side. In fact, Abubakar Arimi famously granted an interview to one of the leading news magazines at that time, where he said it was the turn of a Sultana to be president of Nigeria. It was the cover interview. So that was like 1 week or so to the election. And Abiola did very well, in spite of the fact that he picked a Muslim as his vice presidential candidate. People didn't really bother about that. They voted for him. Nigerians were not bothered about who was a Muslim or who was a Christian. And in my heart at that time, I said, God, thank you for this day. This is a new positive beginning. But Babangida and others began to vacillate, release result, they will not release result. They began to vacillate. So we started seeing signs that while the Nigerian people wanted Abiola, so the people in the military administration clearly didn't want Abiola to rule. So that was what we experienced at that time. But it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling from the professional point of view, and it was such a great feeling.
For a long time, the significance of June 12, you know, when we entered this democratic dispensation at Suko in 1999, and the man from Abeokuta, the man from Abiola's states, did not for one day recognize and acknowledge the role June 12 played in our democratic, history. And the federal government ignored it for 8 years. Subsequent administration did not do that till 2018. And this president, of all people, the most unlikely person that was meant to validate and now declare June 12 as Democracy Day in Nigeria.
Yeah, because from 1999, that people were thinking that, by the time they bring Obasanjo, because I have to mention his name, June 12, which is his brother anyway, June 12 will be actualized, and then the plans of MKO will also, be brought into fruition and things like that, Obasanjo never for once, mentioned June 12. It was not even, they didn't even want to hear anything about it, which was like, it had a battle with MKO Abiola, and so many people were surprised. So many people were surprised that this is the same person.
If they knew him, they would not have been surprised. Because before, even immediately after Abiola won the election, all over the world, people wanted the Abiola's mandate validated. He went outside this country and was saying Abiola was not the Messiah. So
yeah.
how then should people now expect the same man? When June 12th was the in thing everybody was talking about, he said, no, Abiola was not the Messiah. Then he will become president, and you will expect him to now honor the essence of June 12th. He will not do that.
And he has forgotten that he was even because of the
He's
June
a beneficiary
12th.
of the
Beneficiary
June
of June 12th. Because it was because Abiola died, that was why they said, okay, fine, let's take it back
And
to the
if you remember,
Southwest.
in 1999, we had just two of the leading candidates from the Southwest.
From the Southwest.
Olufalaye
Yes, Olufalaye
and
and
Because the
Obasanjo.
decision was to
day,
let it go to,
let it go to him.
appease the Southwest.
Yes, exactly.
The same way,
Southwest.
The same way a decision was made to appease the Niger Delta by having Jonathan become president.
And when Jonathan came, rather than declaring June 12 as a national day, he now decided to do the idea of turning Unilag into Maulag. And that was the problem, you know, that was another problem, you know.
Okay, yes.
You know, so I remember,
that.
But
yes,
they made the move.
Yes,
you know, but at least he made the
You
move.
appreciate
yes,
the move.
but yes,
But the
it
people didn't
backfired.
want it.
It
But
was
they
the
didn't want
stakeholders.
They didn't want
They didn't
it,
want
you know, until...
And that was not the only school that he tried to name after people. The schools in the north that he named after...
MQ.
No, the schools in the north that he named after prominent people in the north. Those ones, there were no protests.
It's only
Yes.
that Unilag.
It's a Unilag. It was
Because
not-
of the
To be
people...
difficult to
So I think the alumni.
Yes, they didn't want to change the name.
Well, at least he made a move to honor the
Georgia.
no matter what.
Okay.
Give him credit.
All right, we have Bile Oshadipe joins us via Skype to talk more about June 12th. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here.
So tell us about your June 12th story.
27 years ago. For me, as a person, I never thought I would survive June 12th struggle. Because that was a time we had the military going after everybody who had stood up to challenge the junta. And as it is today, a lot of people are taking credit for what they really don't know anything about. And it's so sad. It was a defining moment in Nigeria's history. We were privileged to work with a number of very dedicated professionals.
Bile, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Now, I said you were the first editor of the Tempo magazine, which fought the regime at that
You are
time.
right.
Yes.
You are
How
right.
were you able to stay out of harm's way? How did you fight that battle?
Well, by providence, I wasn't destined to die. Simply because I could have been killed just like that. But the most important thing at that time was that the people were behind us. And when we put our lives on the line, when we started out, we all agreed that we might not survive the struggle. So we were not afraid to die. The second thing is that all those people who took part in the struggle, most of them are silent today. But for the grace of God, for the people who protected us, the ordinary Nigerians, and even men who are in the service, some of them are still high-ranking military men, security operatives. They will show us the way to go and when not to go. That was why we survived, not because we were smarter than the average Nigerian. It was because we had the mass of Nigeria behind us, and they were showing us the pathway to take and when not to move, where to go and what not to do. That was how we largely survived those times.
So how do you feel now, looking at what's going on in our country generally, do you think the struggle was worth it? Do you think the risk was worth it?
I'm really saddened. I'm disappointed because Nigeria has been taken over by opportunists, looters, thieves, people who have no business in government.
Mr. Gwile was the Saturday editor of the Temple.
It was first editor of Temple.
Temple magazine.
Temple magazine. Now, when you now look at the way you guys fought, and then anytime I remember journalism that time, the kind of guerrilla journalism Temple magazine played, how would you assess the level of the practice today?
It's disappointing to say the least. Journalists, for God's sake, they are the fourth estate of the realm, and they are supposed to make government uncomfortable and make them accountable. They are supposed to point out the lapses so that government can serve the mass of the people.
Thank you.
It's crazy.
Thank you. No, the truth is,
Saturday,
as
the editor of
Temple.
Temple. I remember Temple, man. Jide, the news magazine came, and there was PM News, but for just one reason, Temple just surfaced.
Yes, because they proscribed the news magazine.
Oh,
yes.
that was the need for the
yes.
intervention that time.
Because our bosses expected that it will happen. Remember, our bosses, when they were editors of African Concord, they did a story about Babangida, and Abiola told them to apologize, and they refused.
Mr. Bayo Nonoga,
Babafemi Ojuju, you know, and the rest of
the
them.
Wobasa,
Those you are mentioning people who
joined later,
who joined them as the news.
Okay.
The Obasa was not part of African Concord.
Okay.
I'm narrating how we got to that point.
Okay.
That they knew that they would be punished whenever they started because they refused to apologize to Babangida. So they knew that one day Babangida will move against them. So they decided to register other publications. So the moment the news was proscribed, they now went to another publication that they had registered in a different name.
Temple.
Yes, so that was how Temple, and then instead of printing Temple like a glossy magazine, they now came up to printed Temple like a tabloid. Which means you could print it anywhere, go to Shomolu, print it anywhere. At that time, they were deceiving themselves that, it was being printed in a U.S. embassy, this and that. But we were not even, we were printing right in a Keja. And other places. We were moving around. And Gwile was the first editor. The production meetings were held in his house. His wife would cook for everyone.
Where was Dapsy then?
Dapsy was one of our editors. But you know, the top editors were being hunted. They were looking for them. So they had to go underground. So they now had to look for, who is next in rank, one of the most senior. Let one of the most senior take over. Because they were too endangered to be directly involved in daily operations. No, so Gwile was the one who took that risk. He agreed to head to undertake such a dangerous mission, you know, and he led us, of course, with the guidance of our bosses who were behind, you know, behind the scene. But he led us. He provided leadership, you know. You see, he still has, even the way he's talking, you know. You asked him a question about journalism, the practice of our profession, or is the government that is we as journalists too, we also have our own failings. We have our own failings. We can't blame government for everything. We also have our problems as journalists. Can we honestly say that we have done our job diligently and that we deserve 90% as journalists? The answer is no. Beyond even the fact that, people get arrested and all that. We see journalists, even some of our colleagues, as purveyors of fake news. We see it. So
exactly.
Some of us journalists have not actually covered ourselves in glory. We have to admit that, you know. So, but I can understand. For he wanted a greater Nigeria, but the greater Nigeria that he wanted has not arrived. So Bile is angry, he's still angry.
still angry.
He's still my editor that I used to know. We all pray that a better Nigeria will come so that we will truly be proud of our leaders.
Exactly.
When we look at the achievements that that they've done. Truly, that's it. As Masuko was saying, success takes time to mature. I'm happy that progress is being made in rail transport, for example. Progress is being made. I hope that the government will stay focused and continue to make giant strides in that area. It's not all bad news for the president, but the truth is Nigerians want more work to be done.
Asuko, when you look at what what June 12 really has brought about, how many years after, and we still talk about June 12 in the history of our country, and it's now our Democracy Day. And I don't know, where were you in June 12? What can you remember?
I was still in my teens then, I remember, at least. Though I couldn't vote because I was still young.
Okay.
Yeah. But as time went on, during the Abacha era and all that, at least I could see some pictures. I could still remember faintly all the protests and until when he died, and we trooped it out in Ikeja then, and there was celebration everywhere in Ikeja, you know. And I still also remember when we used to even go to, because then we were staying in Ikeja. I was staying with my brother then in Ikeja. We will go out in the middle of the night and we'll be sharing. Lagbaja had this song against the junta then, you know, and we would distribute, you know, back then. Yeah. So the June 12 memory is something that I cannot forget. Yes, I read it in school, but there are some things that I still remember that
vividly
I did,
as at that time.
as young as I was then.
I have OSA director joining us live now. He was an active participant in the struggle.
Insider.
Tell magazine.
A journalist.
Before he now went to Insider.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Thank you very much. Nice being with you guys today.
Osa, my friend.
Osa was a customer to DMI.
He was they put manacles in his legs in Kano. I still remember that picture of my friend with manacles dangling on his legs like a common criminal.
Let's together.
Okay, tell us about your June 12 story, Osa.
While I was out there, I wrote a book called Suicide Journalism, you know, which basically detailed my detention experience in one of Abacha's gulag. It is very interesting that I started my professional outing with Tell magazine. My first assignment being to cover June 12, 1993 presidential election. You know, so which was in Kano. And like Jide said earlier, it was an exciting period, you know, in the sense that most of us were young men, under 30, you know, bubbling with life and idealism from the university. So, I mean, we just thought we could change the world, you know, and then we felt that if the military was determined to ride roughshod over every one of us, we should also be resolved in checkmating their activities by telling them to do what is right and what is good in the interest of the people. We just wanted to get them off our backs. And as I've always explained to people, what was the driving force? What was the motive? The motive was just that it's like a pastor will tell you that he's called by God. And for you, it looks strange because you really don't know what that calling is all about. It's not like an evangelistic calling. We just felt as a duty to liberate this country from the pangs of the military, and especially when you have people, I don't want to be too harsh, but absolutely composed, you know, who we are holding the levers of power, you know, detecting to you as an intelligentsia, you will not feel very comfortable. So we felt that this should not be the philosopher kings in our society. I mean, those bunch of rascals, like
No,
my.
How come
You are
there's
not
a thin line
see-
between journalism at that time and radicals?
No, the thing is, Osa director, back then, Galadima Road, where we were living in Kano, where we had our offices, your office was like 2, 3 doors to mine. We were unmarried.
Yes.
So the risks that
Yes.
you could take at that time, now that you are married, your children are grown up, can you still take those risks now? You are abusing people as if you are still in that era.
Because as a lawyer, he's even running a law chamber in the OJP.
You are abusing people as if you are still in that era. What do you mean?
You know that this thing is in the system. You cannot just wish it away. The truth is, yes, as gentlemen who were married, yes, we just feel we could just fly. But I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, I will even do worse. I'll be more committed if I find myself in a similar situation. Because I always tell my children that, look, even if I'm not here for you, your destiny will not change drastically, especially if you know what you are doing. Some of us, okay, I had parents then, but some of us didn't have parents to really guide us. But we knew what we wanted, because the basic thing you owe your children is good education and good upbringing. And we had that. And that was why we had the vision and the commitment to say, okay, we want to fight to ensure that there's democracy, there's rule of law, there's order, there's equality in society. Were it not for that exposure and education, I mean, some of us had the choices of working in public relations. I'm not saying that those who went there, I mean, were weaker vessels, so to say. Some of us had the options of even working in newspapers.
Of even running abroad.
Now,
yes. Of even running abroad. You remember?
Yes, voting with their going abroad. My state is particularly noted for that. Every household in Benin has somebody abroad. So, but I choose to stay here. And I remember you just brought out a very salient point. After my detention experience, I was invited by Commission of Civil Liberty Organization and AfroNet, which was headed by my very good friend Chidi Odinkalu and the wife, to give a lecture along with Sylvester Odiankani, who's now a professor of political science. After the whole scenario, some participants who came from Ireland, from Africa, they call them. They offered me asylum. That it is too dangerous for me to go back to Nigeria. They are ready to work my papers. But my standard answer to them was that whatever is the standard and quality of life in Europe today is as a result of the sweat and commitment of Europeans. Whatever is our situation today in Africa, in Nigeria specifically, is as a result of our action or inactions. That I want to be counted on the right side of history as one of those who contributed this utmost to ensure that you have a better society, a better living condition for the average Nigerian. So for that reason, I'm not going to accept the asylum. And I thank them. And the same thing happened when I went to
I want to
Germany.
thank you,
The same
Osa.
thing happened when I was
We could go on and
Osa,
on,
exactly.
but these are the set of the journalists that they've made us proud.
He was the chairman of the correspondent chapel in Kano,
Yeah.
and I was the secretary. And we were best of friends.
Oh God!
And
You guys have seen it all.
and we set records.
Yeah.
We set records. Many people don't know. They think that we just suddenly
Just emerged for
I was in 1997. I was voted best investigative journalist in Kano, and my certificate was personally signed by the late Emir of Kano, Ado Bayero.
Wow.
So I can never forget
Wow.
that experience.
Wow.
That we had to take risk, and today we are happy.
At least
yes, I think journalists, young journalists, should take a cue from the likes of BKO and Osa director.
Commitment,
commitment, and
passion.
not looking at
of this country. More than 2 decades after corruption remains endemic in the polity, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, now will be joining us live for this discussion. The EFCC chairman is with us, Mr. Ibrahim Mustafa Magu. Thank you for joining us. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. You have been in charge of EFCC for about 5 years. For about 5 years now. Will you say Nigeria is winning the war against corruption?
Well, that will amount to kind of assessing myself and other anti-corruption agencies. But you agree with me that I think I saw Mr. Otitoju was there. It is much better now than in those days. I mean, you just told me that a lot of the journalists run abroad and they were sleeping in one fallow in New York, for instance. So now there is everybody can express themselves, and there is no longer impunity. I mean, yeah, people don't do the way they like, and there is this fear of a sanction. I think
Let's talk
corruption is
specifically.
evil.
Let's talk specifically about your work as chairman of the EFCC. Recently, the Supreme Court gave a verdict directing the EFCC to go back and retry former governor of Abia State, Ojuzo Kalu. How do you react to this kind of judgment, this kind of setback? How do you react?
No, it's discouraging. It's frustrating, you know. But only the Supreme Court has given the judgment, and we are very much on course. Everything is being done to comply with the judgment of the Supreme Court. You agree with me that the Supreme Court did not condemn our evidence. Evidence tendered and witnesses. They didn't say nobody condemn any of these things. So we are very much on course. We will comply with the judgment of the Supreme Court, and we are on course already. We are going back to the court and retry again, just in line with the judicial directives.
Okay, the EFCC has been prosecuting some politically exposed, individuals since 2007, but you've not been having conviction. So what is really going on? Why are we not having the number of conviction, especially amongst those governors?
People.
Okay, let me quickly say that the EFCC is one law enforcement agency that they really prosecute our suspect, and we don't go to customary court. Neither do we go to magistrate court.
No.
Our cases go to high court, either state high court or federal high court, or the Court of Appeal, or the Supreme Court. Now, if you go to all these courts, High Court, State, Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme, we are the law enforcement, the only law enforcement agency in this country that has the highest number of cases pending. So we are very much in course. If you have access to any of the law report, you see that the EFCC dominates, has the highest number of references in law report.
The question
So
is,
it's an institution. You will also know that between 2015, like for instance, in 2015, we had 103 conviction, 2016, 109 conviction, 2017, 189 conviction, 2019, 2018 we have 315 conviction, 2019 we have 1,281 conviction, and in the year 2020, from January to date, we secured about 243 convictions.
Okay, tell us what progress is being made.
Notwithstanding the pandemic. So the total number of convictions we secured, we are still counting. The total number of convictions we secured from the day I started to date is 2,240.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we want to tell us the progress that is being made on former oil minister, that is Alison Desiani. Can you hear us?
Mr. Chairman, can you hear
Yes.
us?
Can you hear us? Now, we are talking about the progress made on the
Yes,
former oil
I
minister.
can hear you.
Former oil minister, Desiani.
What's the progress?
Yes.
Will she ever face
We are,
justice?
of course, we've been doing joint investigation, and we are making progress.
Will she ever be brought to justice here in
We
Nigeria?
are using both diplomatic
Can you hear?
and Nigeria in diaspora and fellow law enforcement agencies, both within and without Nigeria. We have already placed her on the Interpol watch list.
Okay. Are you?
Because of our intervention, the Dominican Republic has just informed us that they have withdrawn the diplomatic status they accorded us. They accorded her.
Okay. That's good news. That's good news.
Yes.
So
So we are on course.
like how much is projected that the EFCC is investigating her about? Like what sum are you looking at? When you look at the totality of the
No, we are still on course. There is this $2.21 billion. And we are following,
okay.
among others.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, let's talk about Hush Puppy and Mofa. They are the two biggest suspected 419 kingpins. What progress have you made so far? What progress have you made so far
Yes.
in terms of even having foreign collaborations to see that this case is taken care of?
Yahoo boys.
Yeah, those elevated Yahoo boys. Hush
Yeah,
Puppy.
yeah. The menace of Yahoo boys is also a cause of concern, because we are gaining ground and we are on course. We are collaborating with other law enforcement agencies like the FBI. Last time, one of the cases, Yahoo boys are also involved with their mothers. They don't seem to know that it's a crime, actually. And we have what we call Yahoo Mothers Association.
Really?
A situation where the mother will go abroad and the child will stay here and the mother will remain. They will steal the details of their credit card, and the details of the credit card are sent to the Yahoo boys in Nigeria. And such Yahoo boys use the details given to them in the credit card and hack into the credits. There's still a lot of money doing that. And such money is routed back to the mother. In fact, we recently had a case of a mother and a son convicted. So the menace of internet fraud is very, very serious. We are doing everything possible to arrest the situation.
Okay.
So we are talking about
In fact, that is why we have increased
no, we are talking about Hush Puppy and Mofa.
So
What's
we
the
want to
progress?
conviction.
We want you to specifically
No,
talk about those
we
guys.
are not directly involved in Hush Puppy and Mopa.
Did you offer any form of support to the
We are not directly involved. We are yet to be involved.
Okay.
But if they have to give us this, we will assist.
Okay.
But I want to tell you that we are not only involved in prosecuting, arresting, chasing, and prosecution. And we are also involved in trying to see whether we can rehabilitate. Yes, so that they will be better citizens to our country. Because most of these boys are very, very intelligent boys.
Okay.
They are undergraduate or undergraduate. So it's not only about raiding them, taking away the proceeds of their crimes, and prosecuting them and convicting them. We are also looking at how we can rehabilitate these youngsters, that they can be useful to our country.
Okay, let us talk about
What is that?
a recent, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, can you hear us?
Yes.
There was a recent incident involving your Sokoto office where some Chinese contractors try to bribe your officers, with tons of Naira notes. Especially during the coronavirus pandemic, people were surprised that they could muster so much cash at a time when banks were not open. So, what is the update on the Sokoto incident?
Yes, we are also following it up. We have been able to trace the bank from which the money was withdrawn.
Okay.
And very soon when we finish the investigation, we will prosecute all of them, the bank officials, and the Chinese, and whoever need to be prosecuted.
How about capacity building within the EFCC? Giving people the right training to be better investigators and people who can stop crime before it's committed. What are you doing about capacity building within the EFCC? Are you still getting support from foreign agencies by way of training of your men, by way of even funding your activities?
Yes, we are very much on course. We have foreign partners, development partners, the European Union, UNODC, Ottoman Foundation, and so many other development partners, and the embassies here. And we also have internal arrangement. We have internal mandate to train our men. Capacity building is very, very key. It's very, very important. So we are very much on course like before. That is why we have a lot of dedication. And expertise, particularly in cyber crimes. And money laundering.
How much?
And fighting corruption and illicit financial flow.
Yes. How much support are you getting from the banks? Because how much support are you getting from Nigeria's
banks?
Banks, yes, because they are supposed to report a certain level of lodgement into their banks. Do you get enough support from these banks? Because it takes two to tango.
No. I don't support support from banks. I already told you I don't like support from banks, please.
No, I don't mean to give you money.
To give you money.
In the war against corruption.
Yes, war against corruption.
Are they reporting? Yes. Are they reporting attempts to launder money and all that? Do you get such reports from banks in a way that supports your work?
Yes. All those machineries that they function, they now function better than before. Because we have the NFIU and we have other departments within that actually work with the such banks.
Okay.
And banks still, like before, they provide a suspicious transaction report.
Okay.
And they report cases to us as well.
Okay.
So, despite whatever they do, we still go out of our way to assist them just to make sure that the economy doesn't collapse.
Okay. So are you saying the level of looting, if not checked, can lead to the collapse of our economy? Are you saying that stealing from the system? Are you saying that stealing from the system, if not checked, can actually lead to collapse of the economy?
Yes, certainly. We are not only looking at the public sector, corruption in public sector. We also look at address the corruption in the private sector, like in the banking sector alone, as well. Yes. So the corruption is equally everywhere. In the private sector, in the banking sector, one of our strategies is to make sure that we attract both direct foreign and internal investment. Yes. Just make sure that there are no briefcase investors come and defraud people, trying to create a very conducive investment environment.
Okay. We want to thank you.
And try to encourage private sector-based economy.
We want to thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Driven.
The chairman.